Hello again, Waterline writers. This is Mary Wagner, and I'd like to thank you so very much for the invitation to read at your Christmas holiday show. I couldn't manage to make it here in person this time, and so I'm going to read The Tale of the Christmas Axes on video, and I so wish I could be there again in your beautiful art gallery. This essay is the true story of what happened during traditional holiday baking in the first Christmas after my divorce. My college-age kids came home from school. I handed them the mixing bowl and they decided to make history. This piece also happens to be the very first essay I ever wrote when I started blogging a few years ago. I had been a journalist for a long time, and then I went to law school. And a few years after that, some friends who knew how much I had missed creative writing pushed me into starting a blog. I called it Running with Stilettos. And this is what came out. You'll find it printed in my very first essay collection called Running with Stilettos. You'll also find it in my best of collection, which is called When the Shoe Fits. I published this last year. And so without further ado, here we go. The Tale of the Christmas Axes. Martha Stewart, stop reading right now. I cannot be held responsible for the stroke that will surely follow if you found out about Christmas at my house or that of my friend Barb's. It's all about what happens when you relinquish the reins of control. And in the end, you laugh a lot harder, but it doesn't sell many magazines. Barb and I could be templates for that tired stereotype, women who do too much. That's not because we're perfect, but because we're both coming from behind. Barb still has some recuperation issues from back and neck surgery a few years ago. They slow her down from time to time. And after a riding accident 20 years ago, I still run out of steam and the ability to keep standing on a long day faster than I used to. This doesn't keep either of us from pulling out all of the stops during the holidays. I know Barb's usual standard for holiday decorating. It's warm and inviting and really pretty. Her tree is about 12 feet tall. Mine, well, not so much. But I do have my moments. This time I had 3 of my 4 children coming home from college or beyond right before Christmas, and I wanted the short time they could all spend together to be as cozy as a Norman Rockwell picture turned into a Hallmark television movie. There was a wreath on the door, and a 9-foot Christmas tree with dozens of glass-blown and hand-embroidered ornaments strung with strings of red wooden cranberries. It was festooned with a virtual aviary of ceramic birds and other woodland creatures. There was a homemade pumpkin pie, homemade banana muffins, homemade Christmas cookies in 4 varieties, needlepoint stockings hung by the chimney with care. I couldn't locate the creche for the 2nd year running, but I found the stuffed moose that sang Grandma got run over by a reindeer, and I put fresh batteries in him before they got home. Somebody sat on it as if on cue, and the moose started to sing. There was 60 pounds of fresh firewood in the wrought iron stand next to the fireplace, along with a basket of fat wood to start the fire in a hurry. There was fresh coffee in the pot, and whipped cream to go on the hot chocolate. Oh, and did I mention that this was the first Christmas after the divorce? The high point for traditional Christmas fun has always been rolling out and decorating the butter cookies, and this year was no exception. The kids set to the task almost as soon as Michael, a college freshman, walked in the door and dumped his gear. By the time he arrived, it was late afternoon, and I was absolutely done in after days of shopping and wrapping and baking. And I also had to fit in 2 days of working on a last-minute felony drug trial. So, I poured myself a glass of wine. I pulled the bowl of cookie cutters and the mixer down from the top shelf of the cabinet, and I handed off the rolling pin to the younger generation. Knock yourselves out, I said, and I sat down on the sofa of the living room to read the paper as flames danced happily in the hearth. The kitchen was a beehive of happy noise and activity, and I enjoyed the energy from a distance. As soon as the last batch of cookies was finished and cooling, we had dinner and ripped into our presents. Then the kids left to open gifts at their dad's, and I finally began to take inventory of what they'd left behind. It looked like a holiday bomb had gone off. Every open surface in the kitchen was covered with flour, or gingerbread crumbs, or frosting, or all 3. There were red sugar crystals, green sugar crystals, candy hearts, candy sprinkles, and candy flowers. Discarded coffee cups and wine glasses were everywhere. Cookies were everywhere too, and as I started to gently slide them off the cookie sheets to store them, I laughed out loud. My late mother-in-law had given me the cookie cutters 2 decades before, and every year I had pulled out the most obvious holiday ones from the eclectic collection. There was a Santa and an angel, a reindeer, a fir tree, a bell, a star, a heart, a flower. And every year, the maternal censor in me had stopped at pulling out the cookie cutter that was clearly shaped like an axe. Why Santa might need an axe on his journeys anyway, I could only guess. But the kids had found the axe-shaped cookie cutter in the bottom of the bowl I'd handed them and had taken it to town. There were lots and lots of Christmas axes in this year's cookie assortment. They were bloody axes, in fact, since they had decorated the edges of the blades with red sugar crystals. Keeping the theme going, they had brought the angels into the act as well, with bloody little angel hands to go with the bloody little axes. I was surprised they let Santa keep his head on his shoulders. The extra dreadlocks they added to Rudolph's antlers and colored red, making him the sideshow Bob of the reindeer team, seemed almost like an afterthought. I packed the cookies and laughed. Then I packed some more cookies, and I laughed for the rest of the night. The next day, I called Barb to tell her about the new Christmas tradition. She had had one of her own to match. She had apparently run out of holiday steam a bit early as well, and had turned the task of decorating the gingerbread men over to a 12-year-old niece. Surprise! Her niece had made an artistic judgment that gingerbread men looked better with 3 eyes than 2, and a new tradition was born at her house as well. From now on, gingerbread men at Barb's will have a 3rd eye. And at my house, when the kids want to make bloody Christmas axes and murderous angels again, I'll make sure they've got red frosting to do the job right. And with that, once again, thank you so very much for this invitation. Have a happy holiday and a wonderful new year to you all at Waterline. Thanks.